We are taught to view American presidents as flawless, godlike figures, literally etched into the stone of history. That staring up at those stoic, unblinking faces completely erases the chaotic, messy, and sometimes utterly unhinged reality of the men who actually sat in the Oval Office. Today, we are stripping away the sanitized textbook history to declassify the absurd, bizarre secrets of the commander-in-chief. Behind the Great Seal, the office has often been occupied by individuals defined by their eccentricities and strange human impulses. Take the concept of presidential dignity. John Quincy Adams started his daily routine by stripping completely naked to take a sunrise swim in the Potomac River. Or consider the extreme paranoia of Herbert Hoover. He hated encountering his own staff so intensely that he installed an elaborate system of bells to warn of his approach, forcing aides to literally dive into closets and flatten themselves against walls to avoid eye contact. Then there is Lyndon B. Johnson's total lack of personal boundaries. He regularly forced his aides to conduct official briefings while he sat on the toilet with the bathroom door wide open. Even modern diplomacy has its gross moments. In 1992, George H.W. Bush vomited directly into the lap of the Japanese Prime Minister, inadvertently creating a new Japanese slang term, bushuru, or to do the Bush thing. The extreme isolation and suffocating pressure of the Oval Office clearly breeds bizarre daily behaviors. The constant illusion of dignified statesmanship shatters the moment you look behind closed doors. The bizarre daily habits are only the surface. We've all heard the wholesome grade school myth about George Washington's wooden teeth. In reality, his dentures were a horrific, creaking contraption. They were a mix of cow and horse teeth, hippopotamus ivory, metal springs, and actual human teeth pulled from enslaved people. Thomas Jefferson lived an incredibly dark contradiction. He authored the words, "All men are created equal," while simultaneously fathering 6 children with an enslaved woman, Sally Hemings, and keeping those very children enslaved. By the 1920s, the casual disregard for the office's sacred history took a different form. Warren G. Harding spent a raucous, drunken poker night casually gambling away priceless White House china that dated all the way back to James Madison. The polished versions of history taught in school rarely account for this level of personal hypocrisy. We are left with a gap between the idealized founder and the man who traded away presidential history for a high-stakes poker hand. We also tend to picture politicians as weak, delicate bureaucrats. Yet, a 22-year-old Abraham Lincoln was a 6'4" wrestling champion who won 299 out of 300 matches and physically body-slammed the leader of a local street gang. Andrew Jackson operated with a terrifying ruthlessness. During an 1806 duel, he stood completely still, willingly taking a bullet directly to the chest, so he could take his time, aim, and execute his opponent with a single shot. Teddy Roosevelt took that invincibility complex even further. After an assassin shot him at point-blank range, the bullet tore through his thick 50-page folded manuscript. Roosevelt stood up and delivered an 84-minute campaign speech with the lead still bleeding in his ribs. This history shows a side of the office that isn't found in a policy memo. For these men, the ability to lead was inseparable from their capacity for grit and raw physical dominance. However, immense physical vulnerability leads to the most bizarre secret in White House history. In 1919, Woodrow Wilson suffered a severe stroke that left him entirely paralyzed. For the next 17 months, his wife, Edith Wilson, stepped in. While the public remained completely unaware of the president's condition, she screened every visitor, controlled all the classified paperwork, and effectively acted as the first female president of the United States. The Constitution lays out a strict line of succession, but the historical reality is entirely different. The office's immense power is sometimes wielded by whoever happens to be standing closest when a supposedly flawless leader physically fails. This chaotic humanity extends straight into the modern era. Civil War hero Ulysses S. Grant actually got pulled over and handed a moving violation by a D.C. police officer for galloping his horse too fast through the streets. Calvin Coolidge pardoned a live raccoon for Thanksgiving, named her Rebecca, and walked her around the White House on a leash. Decades later, Jimmy Carter formally filed a government report because he genuinely believed he saw a UFO, and Richard Nixon regularly snuck down to a private one-lane bowling alley underneath the White House, rolling strikes in his full suit late at night just to clear his head. These bizarre, unhinged facts do not ruin the legacies of these leaders. They actually do something much better. They strip away the intimidating, artificial veneer of historical destiny. So the next time you look up at a massive presidential monument, remember what sits beneath the Great Seal of the United States. There is always just a strange, flawed, and fascinatingly weird human being.